We're live on YouTube too. Well, YouTube's not seeing anything. Oh, there it is. Okay, YouTube sees it now. Woohoo! All right. So yeah, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from. This is Jim McKeith, and welcome to our open source, Embarcadero open source project stream on Tkinter versus DelphiFMX for Python GUI. This is our first project stream, so we're excited to have everybody here. Real quick, introduce everybody. I'm the developer advocate here at Embarcadero, and we also have Priyatham. He is one of our Python developers and tech writers. Lucas is the guy that's doing most of the Delphi, the development of the Delphi code, as well as a lot of the Python side. Mohil is a chief of staff and entrepreneur for Embarcadero, and I guess IDERA in general, working with Kyle. Kyle Wheeler's our Embarcadero general manager. Kirikos was going to be on. He is on. He is the maintainer of PyScript and Python for Delphi, so he's kind of the brains behind some of the fundamental code that we're using in here. And
hello from.
Hello.
Hi, Jim.
Hi. And also Chris. I don't see. Oh, yeah, Chris is on here. Whole Tomato Visual System lead developer. And there's a couple other people out there behind the scenes that may or may not chime in that are helping with Q&A and stuff. So fantastic. Thank you everybody for joining. So actually, Kyle, I will let you talk real quick about why we're doing open source and the Python stuff, and then I will get back to the slides.
Perfect. I won't hop onto video. I will at the end for Q&A, but Jim, thanks for setting this up, first of all, and then to the developers working behind the scenes to make these projects, as impactful and as good as they are. Thanks for that work. Essentially, just the kind of overarching idea here is that Embarcadero, we can't do everything. We can't do, build tools for every language. We can't support every development stream. But what we can do is enable other developers to work on passion projects that they love, and ultimately try to give back to the community. And so while we might not have the development resources internally to do some of those things, we do have a pretty large network, like those that you see here on this webinar, that have certain ideas that they want to push out, and and Embarcadero wants to support them. We get the question a lot. We've pushed out a lot of content and things around Python, yet we don't have, we are Rad Studio that has Delphi and C++. Why are you doing it? Why are you talking about Python? We realize that not everybody uses our tools in their workflow, and that's okay. There's some overlap, and there's a lot more developers than just what we have access to, and so some of this is, obviously the marketing angle of trying to get our name in places that we wouldn't normally show up, but also to encourage and support developers that are at least tangential or adjacent to our community. And so with that, we've done a few in the past, different open source projects. Some of those have been open source that have been out for a while. Dev C++ comes to mind, and we wanted to breathe a little new life into those. They were written in Delphi, that one in particular. So we supported the developer, lead developer Eli on that, and updating that and making it now compatible with the latest versions of Windows. Didn't do anything in terms of business, but it was something that we just thought was a cool thing to do. And obviously, using Delphi, it showed the power of what you could do with an old project in Delphi and update it to the latest standards and platforms. So anyway, we're excited to support open source in any way we can. We'll go through, obviously this particular project and how it, sits in the marketplace or in the ecosystem. And I'll shut up. But if you have a project, I guess this is like also, what does the future of open source look like for us? What's the next thing? If you, as an attendee here, have something that you're working on that's in the open source vein that kind of sits in this realm of types of projects or products that you'd like us to take a look at and support, we'd be happy to. So that's the all call there. But yeah, thanks, Jim, for putting this together, and I'll let him go through a little bit more on the details of what we're doing here with Python.
Fantastic. Yeah, I honestly, I think Python is a great synergy, if you will, with Delphi. I think there's a lot of, it works really well. And this week and next week, we're going to look at some really cool stuff that we are doing by combining the two together. So the idea behind these live streams is it's an opportunity for me to kind of share with some of the product managers some of the stuff that's going on in these different really cool open source projects, get their feedback into the projects as well, and then also to engage with, you know, everyone out in the community that's using these projects. So it's kind of an all-around conversation is the goal. And even though there is going to be some presentation portion of it as well. And I have way too much content in my slides. I'm not going to read all of it, but the slides are available in the handout section and in the blog post. So you can go out and download them later to look at some of the more stats and more details. A couple of things I do want to comment on here, though, is that at least today, all the projects are on GitHub. Most of them are MIT licenses. That was a little bit of nuances to that, which I'll comment about later. And while this is all we're talking about working with Delphi, it may be C++ support, C++ builder as well. Oh, and then specifically, everything works on Android, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And there is a ebook bundle, which I will mention a few times because it is a great offering and a great way for us to see how much interest there are in these projects. So that's kind of the two things you can do is some of these projects you see, you know, or other open source projects that you like is give them a star on GitHub. And for this one, if you download the ebook bundle, that gives us a great metric to engage interest. So this is kind of an overview map of the Python projects that we're involved with right now. It's split into two parts. Up at the top, we have Python developers. Down at the bottom, we have stuff for Delphi developers. So the idea of this map is shows some of the different projects, where they fall, right? How do they connect and who are they targeting? Today we're talking about DelphiFMX and the related projects in here on the Python developer side. So these are all powered by Python for Delphi, which is the bridge between the two. It's I guess Kyrkos is the maintainer. I think you've written most of it, but that's kind of the core to all of this here. It's also what powers PyScripter, which is the Python IDE. Next week, we're going to be talking about some of these down here, Delphi-related ones. So today is really focused on Python developers. So if you're a Python developer, you're in the right place. If you're a Delphi developer, it should still be interesting, but next week is definitely where we'll be talking about some of the cool stuff you can do with Delphi, thanks to these open source projects. So as I said, this is for Python developers, and DelphiFMX is really about making nice GUIs. So everybody, imagine in your mind your best Archer voice saying, "Do you want a nice GUI?" Because that's how you get a nice GUI. Oh, and agenda. So this is going to be kind of the basic format of all of these sessions. Is that we're going to kind of do a comparison or looking at the project compared to other projects or something along those lines. And then kind of go an overview of the project, what's new in the project, review issues and pull requests, answer any questions that may be posted online or posted here, and discuss other changes and features. And then, as I mentioned, next week we're doing PyTorch for Delphi, which is part of the Python Data Sciences library for Delphi developers. Quick comparison. If you're not familiar with Tkinter, it's the kind of de facto standard GUI framework for Python development. Although we will do another one, we'll revisit and talk about PyQt, which is the Qt framework for Python, which is possibly more popular. I don't know. I've heard competing things, but essentially Tkinter is the default. It's the base one that people use. It ships as part of Python. So we want to kind of look at the differences and the gaps that we might have in DelphiFMX. A few things we identified is, and I'm not sure if we're going to address all these yet, but Tkinter can have multiple event handles per event, both instance and class level events, and it has type hints, which means it gives better information in some of the Python IDEs about the library. These are things that are not in DelphiFMX yet. The type hints is something we are actively looking at, though. A few places where I see DelphiFMX or we saw DelphiFMX actually is better than Tkinter is the components have ownerships and parents. Parents decide to show the components, as opposed to Tkinter, you have to pack them, which is a different method. Not that it's bad by any means, but it's just different. I think that this is what we have is better. Tkinter has 3 layout options and 18 components, whereas DelphiFMX has 18 layout options and 124 components. And actually, some of those layout options are like combining things together and stuff like that. So 18, I don't know. It depends on how you slice things up, how you get these numbers. But it's still, there's quite a bit in there. I think it's a lot of great stuff. We have more custom styles in DelphiFMX and a very comprehensive visual designer. Now, someplace we thought they were about equal, but it's actually kind of different, is Tkinter actually works across all Python platforms, but DelphiFMX has supports a slightly smaller subset of platforms. For example, Tkinter will let you build Linux ARM apps, whereas DelphiFMX doesn't support Linux ARM, for example. There are probably a couple other platforms like that are smaller niche platforms that aren't supported by DelphiFMX. But DelphiFMX does have a simplified Android deployment, which we'll take a look at here shortly. So Tkinter is a thin object-oriented layer over TickleTK, which is a programming language and GUI framework. I think technically Tickle is the programming language, TK is the GUI framework. But the thing about Tkinter is it doesn't require you to know TickleTK. You're using the GUI framework from TickleTK in Python, similar to how Qt, right? So Qt is a C++ library, but you don't need to be a C++ developer to use it in Python. It has 7 different styles and 18 widgets with 3 layout options. They do have a visual designer. Actually, let me share that here. I was going to do this too, and then forgot. Let me share over that. Here is the this is the designer for Visual TK Designer. And interestingly, even though Tkinter has 18 widgets, they only have 7 of them in here. So you can drag and drop these on here. The thing I thought was interesting is it has a limited amount of properties or ways you can change it. Most of the properties are the same from item to item. You see there's not different properties for different items here. And then this gives you the Python initialization code for it, which you can download and use in your Python applications. Now for DelphiFMX, it's based on Embarcadero Delphi, our FireMonkey framework. So Delphi is its own programming language, but you don't need it to use the library, similar to the way with TickleTK works. It's powered by Python for Delphi, which is the same library that powers PyScripter, or is a big part of PyScripter at least. I mean, PyScripter's got a lot of other things beyond that, I suppose. There are some additional projects we're also going to look at here as well. There's the FMX Builder, which bundles a Python script into an Android application. The Python for Delphi Exporter, which is, if you are using Delphi, gives you the ability to design your GUIs in Delphi and export them to Python. And of course, the Python for Delphi bridge. And then there's also Delphi VCL for Python, which is a native Windows framework for Python. So the difference between DelphiFMX and Delphi VCL for Python developers is DelphiFMX is cross-platform, whereas Delphi VCL is native Windows. And it has some things, for example, like you have Windows handles on all the Windows controls. It uses the native Windows widgets, GUI elements, and stuff like that. So you have some better integration into the OS. So if you're wanting to get a really nice, good integration with Windows and handle window messages and stuff like that, then Delphi VCL for Python is the way to go. Otherwise, DelphiFMX is probably more useful. And some of my layout got changed here. I'll have to fix that. I mentioned before 124 components. It's how it's split up. I'll show you a list here, and we have a list we're going to put up online as well. Some things we're still working on to do is the stubs for type hinting and code completion. We're kind of trying to figure out the best way to do that. The library uses a different approach than some of the other ones that are out there, and so there's kind of a needing to figure out what that's going to look like. We're also working on full documentation. There's some tutorials and ebooks, which I'll point to in a second for already. And then we're adding more components. Even though we've got 124 already, we're looking to add more. And yeah, so it's still growing. It is something you could be using today, but it's still under active development. And there's still a few areas where we definitely feel like it needs some improvements. And of course, we would love your suggestions. So that's a list of all the components. And actually, I'm not sure if that's actually complete because we made some changes since then, but you can see there's quite a bit of them, and we'll have a full list up on the GitHub page and the website for it as well. And then here are styles. And unfortunately, some of those windows did not come out exactly the same shape, so there's a little bit of overlap there, but you can get a general idea of some of the different options you have. These these four here are the default styles on the different platforms, right? So this is the default on Windows, this is default on Mac OS, this is default on Linux under Ubuntu, and then this is the default on Android. And ignore the fact that this screenshot is basically of all the components jammed on one form, which is kind of ugly, but it gives us an opportunity to just kind of see what it's going to look like with the different styles. And then all of these are some additional styles we provide for free in this Python GUI bundle, which you can get here, and it's available. I'll put the links, actually the links from the blog post, and I'll put the link in the chat here in a moment as well.
I like these. Some of these look like they could be used in games, like the blue one.
Yeah, actually,
yeah.
This blue one here or this one here?
No, the bot. Yeah, that one. That one.
This is my
bottom,
favorite.
right? I like that
one. Or one of my favorite styles. And you can't really see it here, but it has like a grid in the background, like squares, and it fades. I love it. I use it. It's like my default go-to style. And there are other styles beyond these. So these styles are customizable. There are a number of styles that ship as part of Delphi that you can also reuse in DelphiFMX. And there are third-party vendors that make and sell styles too. So just some of the options. So PythonFMX App Builder, which I will do a demo of here shortly, but the demo won't actually run the application because we've been making a lot of changes this last week, and it was working, and then we added some new features, and those features don't work. But I can show you the basics of it, and we will have a fix and a video available online shortly. But what this does is it's just a really easy, simple way for you to take your Python application and bundle it up and have it run as an Android application. It's all built in Delphi, and so what it does is it has a Delphi Android application that it is unbundled, and then that Android application has the Python script that you write injected into it. The application is then customized, and then it's all bundled back up and deployed onto Android for you. So it's really, really simple process. Doesn't require Delphi to use, but if you are a Delphi developer, source code is available, so you can certainly modify that. Now, a few people have asked about extending it to iOS. In theory, it should be possible, and we might still go down that path, but from my understanding is it would violate Apple's App Store review guidelines, but you could still deploy it for personal uses or go through enterprise app stores, which somebody pointed out to me recently is a very popular solution, so that is a very compelling reason to consider going down this in more details. And then another tool we have is the Python for Delphi, or Delphi for Python exporter, which lets you design your GUI in Delphi and then export it to use in Python. It supports both VCL and FireMonkey applications. And then, of course, depending on which type of design you'd make, whether it be VCL or Delphi, determines which Python library you're going to use. And then here's the ebook bundle. So definitely check this out. It does include 50 pages of ebook content, and then there are 29 total styles, 15 for FireMonkey, 14 for VCL, all available. It has topics covering installation, getting started, and a few different types of example projects. This is something we're still building out and adding to. There will be new versions of this. This is version 1 that just was released last month. There'll be a new version coming out with more details covering, for example, the Android app builder and such. And I think with that, I'm going to, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to do a demo of a couple of the pieces, and then we'll go out on GitHub and look at some of the projects on there. So let me bring up Delphi. Okay, so this is a simple tip calculator we made. So of course, there are thousands of tip calculators available for mobile already, but we thought it'd be a nice, simple application to just kind of show what you can do here. So right now, this has actually 4 styles on it, and I swear these look different the other day, so I'm not sure why they look different now, but I can change between the different styles here. There was a bar here. It's interesting, the bar is disappearing. I'm not sure why that happened. But in this style, you can see it. So this is just designed in the Delphi IDE. And so now I can come in here to Tools, Export to Python, and say, export either the entire project. So if I have multiple forms, it'll export all of them, or I can export just select forms. Come in here, and this is a high DPI issue because I have a high DPI display and Lucas does not, apparently. And you can just specify which ones you want to have. You can change some of the values. You can choose if you want to export it as text or binary. Text is easier to edit, whereas binary is more space efficient. And give it a title and then export it. I'm not going to export it all right now, though, because I just exported it earlier. So once you've done that, then we can, oops, I guess I need to reopen the builder. I meant to have it running already. So there's a pre-built version of the builder. You don't have to download Delphi and build it yourself, but because I've been actively working on it, that's what I'm going to do right now is open it up here. And so this is the Python FMX builder for Android. And so what this does, and it should be, let me look here. So, okay, yeah, when you first run it, that's right, I restarted it because I removed these settings. You need to come in here and set up the environment for it. And so you just need to provide the root path here, which this is a new feature we added to make it easier to, let's see, get started. Come on, there we go. All right. So you just come in here and put the base path of your Android SDK in here. And as soon as you do that, it goes out and finds all of the tools that it needs here to work with Android. And then you do the same thing here for the Java JDK, put the base path in, and it finds the files it needs there for that. So once you do that, then I can hit the refresh button. The device is offline. I gotta plug it back in again. There we go. It detected my Android device, and I will open up, oh, I can make a new project. Tip calculator. So right now, if I run this, it's just, this is just the default hello Python application. So it'll just make a form on my Android device and display it there. But I can actually come in here and add additional files. So I'm going to add in the this Python file here, and then also add in, this is the export from the exporter from the IDE. So if you, the tip calculator, I designed the GUI, I can export it here, and it'll export it like that. And then I would put the code in for this there, which we're working on a better solution for that. And now if I run this, it's not going to run. It was getting an error message. Yeah, I haven't figured out. I messed up something in my environment. But what's that?
Live demos.
Yes, yeah. It was working yesterday too, and we tried to add one more feature and then messed it up. And I should have rolled back, but I didn't. I pushed too close, flew too close to the sun, and it didn't work. So otherwise, you click this, it would run and it'd pop up on the phone, and it would look great. So I can show you the reopen this one here. And run it. And this is, I mean, one of the things I don't want to run on Android, sorry. One of the things I love about working with FireMonkey is that your GUI is going to look the same across platforms, generally speaking, for the most part. So I get you come in here, and this is what's going to look like. You have the track bars here. We don't have the math here because the math is going to be done in Python, but I love this. This is using the live bindings feature here. So as I make a change in either place, it changes that. And so there's no code necessary for this. So I can define all this in the designer, and that carries over along with the styles into Python. So anyway, had the build work. And I imagine actually, as soon as I finish this, Lucas and Priyathan will probably have a fix for me. And so we'll be posting that shortly. But anyway, that's kind of the basic run through of using it. There's more documentation online, but now I wanted to go in and jump out here to the project site and take a look at it on GitHub. And also, if there's questions or comments, I'm happy to dive into those too. I'm just looking here at some of the questions that are online now. I will encourage, if you're on the webinar, if you haven't gone out here and started this project, which apparently I haven't, can't believe, I hate it when I do that. Like, hey, everybody, please go do this, and I didn't do it yet. So go out there and give the project a star. You can download the ebook from here as well. I'll put the link in here, the chat for everybody on GoToWebinar. If you're on YouTube and you want to ask questions, there's a link in the description in YouTube to join the chat or join GoToWebinar for posting comments and questions. If it's after, then you can leave a comment on GoToWebinar or come out here to the GitHub and either file an issue or start a discussion. There's all options here. Let's see. Ebook also for Android. Okay, yeah, so we're working on adding Android to the ebook to cover DelphiFMX for deploying to Android. That's something we're working on adding. Oh, is the font too small? Sorry about that. I should have changed my font. Okay. So
Control scroll wheel might help.
Oh yeah, I can change it in here. Sure, make it bigger. That's good. True. There's a question here about C++ Builder in Delphi. So this is all about Python today. It's built with Delphi. You could actually, let me bring this back up here. This was something I was going to talk about later, but okay. This site, so you could use, there's some things we're working on to simplify building of libraries in Delphi to be used by Python, which is what these are right here. This DelphiFMX and Delphi VCL are built in Delphi for Python developers. You can do the same thing with C++ as well. It's not something we're going to talk about today at all, but it is something we're looking at in the future to simplify that process. Okay, I think that's it for the questions. So, I just flew through these slides. So this was a week ago, the stats for these. We had 121 stars. Now we have 127. So we got 6 stars in a week. One of those was me. So yeah, go out and star this if you haven't started yet. So this is kind of the stats where it was that a week ago. We do have a new release that just came out 151. Yep, so newer release is there as well. So issues that we have, outstanding issues. We had a milestone for today, and all of those we are waiting for feedback on. The ones we had planned for this, the ones that were not. So one of those is high DPI support. So this is where it will default to per monitor v2. Now you don't have to do anything extra to have it kick into high DPI, and that has been implemented and tested by us, but we're waiting for feedback from other testers too. So if you're curious about that, go download the latest version and you can test that. Additional issues we have, so we're working on adding stubs for code completion, and then we have there was a comment about FMX size on Android. We're looking to make it a little bit smaller, but chances are we're not going to make it like super small. The idea is we don't want to make it any bigger than it needs to be, but it doesn't need to necessarily be super small. And there's somebody had an issue with Python freezing on exit, which we haven't been able to reproduce on Windows 10. So those are some of the existing issues we had. If you do have other issues, we are keeping an eye on that and trying to work through those. Let's see. I think I have a link to the projects here. This might be easier. This is the builder, which we once I fix that bug, I'll have a new release out for that. You can might hear we had some issues, and I think, okay, we're still working on automatically downloading prerequisites and better documentation and stuff like that. Those are things we're still working on. But there were a number of changes. Actually, if I go in here to closed, I think they're probably listed there. Yeah, so we added the ability to customize the app icon, splash screen, etc. Support for multiple files. The getting started guide is available in the wiki, I believe, now. So you can come here and check out the guide. This will all be added into the ebook as well in the near future. So if you go get that ebook, it'll be on there. Oh, and then I broke this. This was there and I broke it, but we'll get that one fixed again. And then auto detect environment, which I showed, which I think is really cool. Makes it easier to get all set up and get going. So the link here for the ebook, if you want to go grab the ebook, you can do that from here. And then if you're not already registered for the webinar you're on right now, you can join that live stream. I'm not going to go out to Delphi VCL, but actually it's got more stars. Interestingly, so here's the download stats for it, and we can see this was kind of interesting. The blue is DelphiFMX and the red is Delphi VCL. So even though Delphi VCL has more stars, we're seeing more downloads on DelphiFMX than on Delphi VCL. And we also went into platforms. Now, the majority of them don't have platform information, and I've filtered that out so we can see the interesting bits here. But we can see that DelphiFMX has a much larger Linux downloads. There's no flag for Android support yet, unfortunately, but we definitely see that DelphiFMX is being used on Linux as well as Android quite a bit. So that's good to see. So it's interesting that the stars don't line up with the downloads, though. Let's see, I'm just glancing back at the questions. Can Python for Delphi run all libraries that Python has? So that is something that we'll talk about next week, Deddy. With the answer is yes, but there's some cool stuff we're going to show next week that makes it really easy to do. This week we're talking more about the Python developer side of things, for Python developers. And then I wanted to talk about licensing. I had a question about this. Oops, sorry, I skipped ahead. About licensing is actually, I think, oh, that's the PDF. All right, we'll just go here. Now, there's multiple licenses here, and I think open source licenses are important. And I probably talk about them way more than most people care, but I want to discuss this anyway. The Python is covered by the Python Software Foundation license, or the Python license, sometimes called, which is a BSD style permissive license, which is compatible with the GPL. BSD, so there's two different types of open source licenses. You have the GPL copyleft licenses, which require everything all the modifications you make or all the code you add to be also under the GPL if you redistribute it, or the permissive ones like MIT and BSD, which let you do pretty much whatever you want to as long as you properly attribute it. So it's a permissive license, but it is compatible with GPL, which is important. Now, Python for Delphi, which is contains the source code for DelphiFMX and Delphi VCL, is covered under the permissive and GPL compatible MIT license, which is good. Pretty much gives you a really a lot of freedoms with how you use the source code. Now, the Delphi's VCL and FireMonkey is available as a free product from Embarcadero or with the community edition or commercial licenses. Obviously, we would love it if people bought the commercial licenses, but hey, we want to support the community, so we do have free license available too, which I am very excited about and advocate for frequently. Now, when we combine Delphi VCL and Python for Delphi together to create the DelphiFMX and Delphi VCL for Python libraries, the redistributable is covered under our freeware license, which is basically just a redistribution license. It gives you permissions to reuse it, but it doesn't make the core Delphi stuff open source. So it doesn't give you an MIT license to that core content. And so that's kind of the key differentiation there. So everybody's free to take Python for Delphi and modify it and recompile it and however they want to use it. But if you're redistributing that ability to build applications with the VCL and FireMonkey, like Delphi VCL and DelphiFMX, then that falls under the other license there. I think it's a good compromise, and I feel like it really meets the spirit of the open source definition, even though this is not an OSI approved license, whereas these all are, or these two are. Like I said, I should have been a lawyer. No, I shouldn't have been a lawyer. So definitely more questions or comments in here, and I will be hopefully talking more with some of the people that are on here with this as well. But do go out, try the projects, file bug reports, make a fork and a pull request, or add features, bug fixes, start the project on GitHub, tell your friends, write a blog post, make a demo, however you want to do to engage with this would be great. So the comment here about ebook for Android, Python integration with Delphi is more important than the Android it was and is. Yes, so that is definitely something, Gabriel, we are working on, is to get the ebook updated with the details on working with Android. Honestly, I think, so the Delphi VCL and DelphiFMX, I think, are both great libraries and very useful. And Delphi VCL is very useful, and we see that has more stars. But honestly, I think the biggest potential impact is not going to be in Python on the desktop, but it's going to be on empowering people to use Python on Android. And that's these two packages here combined. So that's something we're really keen to improve. So there is some documentation on the website I pointed to, but we will be updating the ebook in the near future as well, and would love your feedback and comments. So do file issues on either of these projects if there's things that you aren't working the way expected or things you'd like to see, and we would love to get those added in there. I say we, that's mostly Lucas and Priyatham doing the work. But yeah. In the slides here, we do have this kind of data sheet that if you want to take a look at, this kind of a description of the story we have as far as how we see Python and Delphi going together. PyScript, which we didn't talk about today, is that Python IDE. Delphi for Python is kind of that idea of taking the Delphi projects, like making the Delphi VCL for Python, DelphiFMX for Python, and bringing them to Python. And then the .Python for Delphi side is where we're bringing Python features into Delphi, which is what we're going to talk about, focus on next week with the Python data sciences libraries. So other
interesting
questions or comments? Chris, do you have any thoughts or comments on?
Well, I just keep thinking about how much Python has kind of grown and how important it is in so many ways to both, quickly being able to build out tests of things, like for example in machine learning and AI, like the data sciences libraries is probably where it's really interesting to me. So seeing, just what is an effective and quick way that you can build out UI that could be done in a cross-platform way, because different people like to do these quick experiments in different places. So it's definitely very interesting to see.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the data sciences stuff is really cool. I'm excited. Actually, we have some really cool stuff to show off next week. But a while back we started thinking about this. I went and looked at Python, PyQt, and Tkinter, and I felt like both of them were okay. Neither was bad necessarily, but I really feel like and believe that the VCL, Delphi VCL, and DelphiFMX do bring a lot to simplify that and speed up that process. So,
yeah, and maybe even more powerful, it sounds like, depending on. Yeah,
for sure. So, I did want to comment one thing here, actually. So there actually is two branches of Python for Delphi. So this Embarcadero Python for Delphi is our fork of it, where we're adding the features we need and use around these libraries. But then it's forked from this one here, which is by Kyriakos, PyScripter, and we're doing our best. You can see we're actually up to date. We're to the upstream, so we're doing our best to incorporate changes he makes. But there are some things changes we've made that either haven't been integrated yet, and I'm hopefully talk with Kyriakos and see what his concerns are about that, or they are not going to be integrated because they don't fit that. And so we may actually end up with a situation where we see like a different project that forks out that has just the differences in it. And so in order to do that, because it is important, we do want to make sure that we support this one here as well, the upstream original, as much as possible. We also don't want to take it over if some of the changes we're making are not in line with Kyriakos' vision for that. And you can see actually he's pulled some of our features in. And actually, we'll probably have another stream in the future talking more about these in general. So I would, in addition to starring our libraries, or this library here, the Python for Delphi library, go out and I didn't star that one either. Does it forget your stars eventually? I swear I've starred some of these. Go out and star Kyriakos's, and you can also sponsor him as well. Encouraged. Other questions or comments in here? Marco and David weren't able to join this week, but they were interested. They have looked at the slides, and I'm sure they'll be watching the replay, and I'll be talking with them more in the future as well. David Millington, Marco Cantu, and they're interested in this topic as well. Let's see. Now, Chris, you work on the Ultimato Visual Assist, which is for C++ and C#, right?
That's correct.
So do you see a lot of people using Python in there too, or is that? I mean, I'm just curious if that worlds overlap at all.
I mean, most of the modules are like whatever they're called. The imports for Python are written in as C++ packages. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of interplay. Like if you're using TensorFlow on Python, well, TensorFlow is a C++. It's all written in C++. So, I mean, there is interplay, but.
I see, that's one of the things that I think, and I'm getting off a little bit in the weeds here, but I think that there is a good opportunity for developers, whether it be C++ developers or Python, Delphi developers or whatever, to add Python as kind of that extra library as well that lets you automate some of the stuff you're doing, for example, that maybe Python's better suited for, or something like that. I'm a big believer in using the right tool for the job all the time. So
yeah, so how it tends to be used in at least some places is you have this complicated bit of code that you've write and maintain in C++, but you want to have an easy interface to it. So a simpler interface. So you could use Python. You expose your code via Python as these, imports, and that's a great thing about Python. Is just it's incredibly powerful. It's simple. It's fast, and being able to use. And so having some kind of quick way to build a UI is incredibly important, so that you can actually build stuff out quickly.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, hopefully, I mean, a few people commented that this was informative and they've learned a lot, and I'm glad to hear that. So hopefully everybody else got kind of an overview of where we're at with these projects, what's going on. Definitely looking forward to hearing feedback from people with the new builds we have pushing out and such. So yeah, I wasn't sure if this was going to run long or run short, and it looks like we're about at an hour, which is kind of long, but I talk a lot.
Well, I've enjoyed it. So thank you, Jim.
Good. I think that part of the reason, like Chris and some of the others that are on here, the reason I invited you, and I hopefully it feel that way, is that it's an interesting chance to see some of the stuff that beyond what you're working on with Visual Assist and stuff. So cross-pollination, as it were.
Oh yeah. I mean, on my free time, I play around with stuff with like TensorFlow and NumPy and whatnot. So I'm definitely interested in that.
Oh, cool.
And everyone uses GitHub.
Yeah.
So relevance.
Yeah.
And everyone needs a cross-platform UI library. As soon as you pull your project out of the console.
Yes.
It becomes a really important thing.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Let's see, a couple more comments come in. Eli says, Python FMX Builder is made with Delphi. It does not require Delphi to use. Correct. So there is a pre-built binary. If you go to releases, you can download right here. There's the pre-built binaries, which there'll be an updated version of that probably today, if not in the next couple of days. And that's kind of the goal, is with this green circle here for Python developers, is we want to make it as easy as possible for Python developers to use these projects without Delphi. Even though Delphi is involved and Delphi is powering it, we definitely want to make it available for everybody. Let's see, the question here, since we are discussing Python and C++ right now, may I ask for opinion on trying to integrate Python with C++? I wrote everything in Python, but I need to take advantage of the speed in C++. Thus, I'm not sure what will be the best one. So, and maybe Lucas is on here as well. Maybe he might chime in, but I will comment that one thing that we are working on right here is this Delphi extensions for Python, which will simplify the process of exposing a Delphi library or C++ builder library to Python for exactly that purpose right there, where you have some code that you want to write natively and exposed to Python. Now, the Python for Delphi bridge does that, and that's what powers these libraries here, but we're trying to kind of simplify that, make some quick start things to make it much easier for you to do. Was that you, Chris, that was going to say something?
Oh, I mean, I think you covered it. I was just saying
Okay.
that, yeah, it's something you can do. That's what most people do with Python. You just write some C++, and I don't know exactly how to do it, and then you expose it to Python. I'm sure there's middleware that makes it rather easy. So like Delphi extensions for Python. So you'd look for something like that to make your job a little simpler. But yeah, the interface, it's something that's done frequently.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I know Lucas. So Lucas has done a lot of work in this space here, like the majority of the development. Mostly I just complain about what's not working. But he actually made some big changes to the way this kind of integrates and stuff, and figured a lot of really cool stuff out. And we're looking at writing up. He did a little bit of write up on it. And we're looking at posting that on the website so that you can go out and find that. So do take, if you are curious about that, hopefully we'll have that posted there. And Lucas might be busy right now, so I'm not sure if he can chime in and say anything to that as well. But there's a lot of cool stuff. I really feel like we are doing some innovative stuff here. So yeah. But as Chris, as you were saying, that's kind of what people do with Python, is that Python uses, most of the Python libraries are built in C++, or in this case in Delphi. And the cool thing is that Delphi, at least I feel like, is easier to work with in C++. So
oh yeah,
yeah,
undoubtedly.
You can still get that native speed, which works for you. So this question is Python or Delphi and Python versus C++ and Python. Is there a big difference between the two? I previously used C++ Builder and I really enjoy C++ Builder. Never Delphi before. So C++ Builder and Delphi are kind of interesting, and I am not disparaging, C++ in general or C++ Builder. I feel like Delphi is easier to work with than C++ or C++ Builder, but C++ Builder is kind of essentially takes C++ and adds a lot of the niceties of Delphi to it. But and so there are actually some things I think that Delphi makes easier than C++ Builder, but there are things that C++ Builder brings to the table that are not available in Delphi. So you can't really say one's better than the other. I think Delphi may be easier, generally speaking. Code performance-wise, you're probably going to get about the same performance out of both. You could write slow code in either, but you can also write very fast code in either. So if you're already familiar with C++ Builder, then you probably don't need to switch to Delphi, and all the stuff we're doing here should, as far as the Delphi extensions for Python, should also work with C++ Builder. There is a webinar, and I think it's available in here. Nope, it's not. I will post it probably in this section here. That is the, oh wait, it might be in. I will click one more place, and if I don't see it, I'll just know I'll get it posted in here in Python for Delphi tutorials. It's not. Okay, so there is David I, the amazing David I, did a webinar on using Python for Delphi with C++ Builder. And so if you are, that kind of gives you a lot of low level and stuff with that. So you can certainly do that there. So it is possible. Let's see, in terms of parallel computing, so the parallel library works in both Delphi and C++ Builder, and will work both there. That way, you could also, if you want to go parallel computing, you might look at a GPU compute library, which there are available for Delphi, C++ Builder, and Python. So there's lots of options for parallel computing. Rolf's asking, is it possible to create a GUI with a chart from matplotlib? Yes. Yes. Trying to think if we have examples of that. I don't think we do. I think
webinar 2, the webinar 2 contains that.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. Thank you, Kirikos. Yeah, so if you go in here to tutorials on the Python for Delphi, webinar 2 has examples showing that. Here, visualization demo. So this is a demo, a Delphi demo that has matplotlib building a chart for the Delphi application.
In fact, many graphics libraries, not just matplotlib, but others as well.
Yeah, there's yeah. Yep, and then you can also do the same thing with if you want to build a Python application, you can use the DelphiFMX Python GUI library and embed a matplotlib GUI that way as well. So both of those are options. Thank you, Kirikos, for that. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I think we're at the top of the hour, and it's interesting how things are just kind of wrapping up. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Lucas and Priyatham and Kirikos, and everybody else involved in these projects and the other projects in the community. I am a huge fan of open source projects, and I'm always excited to promote them and help encourage people to help out with those. So, and I do my best to help out as well.
Thanks very much, Jim. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, and we will talk to everybody later. Hopefully see you all next week for the Python Data Sciences libraries. I'm really excited about this. This is some really cool stuff.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. We actually do have a cool PyTorch demo. So it's a Delphi application. It's all Pascal code using PyTorch. So pretty cool. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everyone.
Absolutely. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye-bye.